welcome here at Villa Jongerius. My name is Robert Gaskamp. I'm the founder of IDnext. And we do have a really great program today with a lot of sessions regarding digital identity. So let's go to our first presentation. I think a lot of people already know her. I think she's been connected to IDnext for the start, from the start, to be honest. Yeah. Currently VP Digital Identity Signicat, but also advisory board member of IDnext. So give me a big hand for Esther Makaay.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I promised a current outlook, but while I was looking at the little booklet and everything, I also figured this timeline was really nice, because like I said, we started with the clouds. And I think we've had presentations on all the acronyms and terminology that you see appearing there. Some of them were nice for a while, others got replaced. And even though we emerged from a centralized, federated, user-centric identity to decentralized where we are now, that doesn't mean that the old stuff has been phased out. It's still there. So we're still, you said it's 12, 16 accounts. I think the average is 35 to 50 accounts or identities, because that still means the same in many use cases that we're talking about now. And some of them are really new. I remember talks about privacy and why is it important over a decade ago. And of course it's important, but we're still not done talking, so let's continue. Looking at European EIDs, they've been around since the start of this century, and they've been emerging. They've been used, and then EIDs came along, 2013, first version, and really pushed this along. We've seen that in Europe, legislation has been the main market driver for EIDs. This is what Signicat is supporting. It's around 30 of them. We estimate that there's around 60 EIDs in Europe on a decent maturity level. But if you count every local ecosystem like healthcare or defense into it, it'll be around 150. That's the current landscape. Now, that feels very mature, but Europe is very different in its regions. So the maturity of usage differs per country. And unfortunately, today we're in the Netherlands. I know there's a lot of Scandinavian colleagues here. And it's always hard to talk to them about the lack of maturity, because, I know there's someone from Bank ID here. That's amazing. They've got the solution that works. They use it on almost a daily basis. Well, if you talk to the other countries and people living there, it's a different story. And even Germany, and I know there's quite a few Germans here, has a fairly low adoption rate for EIDs. It's only 22%, but it's on the rise, because last year it was 13%. So that's looking well. So there's a big difference in Europe. Now, the newest developments, the wallets, are definitely coming. 2 years ago when I said the wallets are coming, people said, got to see it first. No, they definitely are coming. And it's going to be complicated. This is the ecosystem that comes along with it. So in the middle, you've got the user with their wallet instance, and then on the left, there's a whole bunch of yellow stuff trying to push stuff into that wallet. Top right, relying party, which is a service provider, typically a verifier, wanting to have access to details from that wallet. There's trusted lists in there, and a lot is still not mentioned. Now, this is a European approach. How to get such an ecosystem going? Well, first and foremost, there's legislation. So this will be common law. No, it is common law because the IDs has been adopted, the revision. This means that member states will have to issue wallets and identities. And we're now seeing the first implementing acts, which is lower level legislation defining the details. Then there's a reference architecture framework and some specifications which kind of clarify what's in the legislation on a more technical operational level. There's a reference implementation wallet, because of course if you force member states to issue such a thing as a wallet, there are some of them who have no idea how to do that. So Europe says, well, take this building block and put your little flag on it and push it out as your own wallet. And last but not least, the large-scale pilots, which sort of do a show and tell of how such an ecosystem, as I showed, could work in practice. Right now, this is the current situation. So the IDES revision is out. We're on the reference framework version 1.41, if I'm correct. We're expecting a new one shortly because it's misaligned right now. The first implementing acts have been adopted 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen the final versions published yet, so that's still... we've seen a draft review in September. They were dodgy. I'm sure they haven't adopted those. And all the large-scale pilots passed their midterm review. So it's looking good, right? These are the current large-scale pilots. So we've got the Identity Wallet Consortium. I'm a big part in there because I'm responsible for the work package on testing and interoperability. Lots of fun. I'll talk to you in the breaks on that. They're focusing on travel, payments, and organizational identity. And one of the great things there is they've got right now 8 operational wallets that are interoperable for the large part, for the core part, and are servicing the first basic use cases. Then there's Nobit. They're focusing on payments, mainly account-to-account payments. And we've seen the first integrations there, but it's a much smaller scale. Then there's Potential, and most of the governments are represented in there. And I'm not part of it, but Jörg is, and I've noticed some of his slides handle that, so go to his breakout session for more details. And then there's DC4U, who are also combining EPC technology with the wallet. And that is sort of a big struggle right now because for some reason governmental support for EPC is failing and organizations are pulling out. So we'll see. The new call for pilots, there's 2 proposals submitted as far as I'm aware. One is led by the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, and it will focus on organizational identity in 3 use cases: business, supply chain, and payments. And then there's Aptitude, led by the French government, focusing on travel and payments. There's at least one more. Okay. Talk to Arend Jan for information on that. The evaluation results are expected, well, they said before Christmas, but it'll be January, don't worry. So these are the timelines. And right now, we've seen the first batch of implementing acts adopted. The second batch was just published for public review last Friday. Be aware, there's going to be over 40 implementing acts all in all, so this is going to be tough. Then the current LSPs are working to wrap up mid-next year, and then the new LSPs will kick off. And then the year after, it says all member states must provide at least one EUDI wallet and push identity in there. And extended Europe, so Norway and Iceland and Liechtenstein will get another year. But by then, all regulated industries must also accept the wallets for strong customer authentication. And the Digital Services Act also includes the big platforms in there, so that's going to be interesting. Now, the expectations are sky high. If you look at European communication, this is just from the website of the committee, saying, yeah, you can open a new bank account, you can buy a prepaid SIM, you can collect your prescribed medication with the wallet. Wow. This is great. Okay, most of you understand MVP, right? Is if you want to build a car, then you don't start with building an engine, because the customer says, yeah, I want a car, nice engine, and then add a few wheels, so yeah, good wheels, and then by the time you add a horn, they're only happy until they get a car. So what you do is you start with a scooter, and you go to a bike and a motor, and so now they're not happy with the bike, but at least it moves. This is how we do it. Well, what we're currently communicating is not a car, it's this high-speed bullet train. It's great. It's not a car. And if I'm looking at the LSPs, this is what we're building right. We've got a hand car, and we're proud of it. It moves, it works, and we will get to a bike by mid-next year. I'm not sure if we get much further. So in expectations, please, please, please be careful about this. There's such a long way to go, and we're not sure how we're going to end up there. One of the reasons is there's lots of confusion. When I started talking about the wallets 2 years ago, I said, well, what is a wallet? Well, it's an app. It's probably mobile, not necessarily. You can manage data with it, and it's under control by a user. But today, where is it? It doesn't work. We still have no clue. Because if I look at the implementing act, it talks about a wallet unit attestation. If I look at the ARF, it says wallet instance attestation, trust evidence. Everyone is confused. If I look at ETSI standards, there typically is a reference to mobile devices only. There's accounts being mentioned. That wallet should have account. What's an account? So we don't know. And then how many will there be? Well, wallets will need to be certified on a national level against an EID scheme, which is confusing as hell because current EIDs and PID issuing, identity issuing, are in most countries, two completely different things. But so we'll have at least 27, right? And if some countries will push in the efforts and the money to do more, this will multiply pretty hard. And we love to have cross-member state recognition of wallets, but legally that's just unfeasible. It's not going to happen right now. Legal persons. The IDES revision says that this is about all natural and legal persons. If you look at the implementing acts, legal persons aren't mentioned. There's no requirements for them, and there's even some requirements in the drafts that prohibited use by legal persons because it talks about mandatory biometric identity verification. Show me one legal person that has biometrics. Okay. Everyday usage. We all know that for an EID to be successful, it must be used on, a lot of use cases, so almost every day. But for a relying party or service providers to interact with the wallet, you must be registered on a national level. You have to tell them what you need from the wallet, what you will request, and how you will handle that data. Now, that's a huge hurdle. Then if you look at requirements for issuing, there's no differentiation between qualified or non-qualified. So whether you issue mortgage property documents or you issue loyalty points, you still have to face the same technical requirements which are costly. And low assurance transactions are being ignored. And I'm wondering if we really want private sector in, because if you look at the legislation, it fits governmental services domain as a glove. But it stops making sense once you look at commercial ventures like payments, for example, financial industry. And they are really curious about liability. So if I have to rely on the data in the wallet and it proves to be wrong, it proves that this identity doesn't hold up, and I get fined, who will take the liability? No one is answering that. Also, payments, travel, other industries need to factor in other trust authorities. They have IATA and ICAO. They've got financial authorities, all sorts of registers they need to link to. It's not part of the ecosystem. And it won't be part of the trusted list, which right now is the sole trust mechanism for the ecosystem. So we need hybrid solutions there. Where did data sharing go? Well, luckily, I think they fixed references to GDPR in the latest implementing acts, but that's about it. And the biggest value of the wallet is that we will have trusted data sharing enabling. But if you do not regulate that, if you do not really focus on that, then it's not working. So when you get confused when reading the regulation, just replace wallet with EID and it all becomes clear. And it's costly. Member states will have to put up a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of euros per country, to get this up and running. And then we're not talking about user support. We're not talking about recertification. So who will make that money available? And if you look at the trust service providers, they by definition are commercial entities and they want to get paid. But the current decentralized architecture makes that really tough. And on top of that, the new requirements for trust services are more strict. So, this is how we came to the trial of disillusionment, by the way, because I was thinking about this a couple of months back already, and I told everyone, well, I don't want to do any presentations on the wallet because I'm not too happy with what's going on. And I'm really wondering how deep that trough is, and I'm hoping to get out of it after the holidays. But talking to peers and to you and to others, this is not just in my head. Now, my marketing department always says you need to be optimistic as well. So this is a good thing. No matter how badly this gets screwed up, we will have a high-level EID in every European member state. And talking to most of you, that doesn't mean much. Talking to my Romanian or Spanish colleagues, that is a big difference because it will be usable by private sector. We won't make it too easy for them, but hey, they can use it. And there will be a basis for data sharing. And what I find most fascinating is for the first time in history, legislation will become sort of agile. Because the committee promised that these implementing acts will be put up for review or re-editing every year. And that is because standards currently are so immature and so fresh out of the press that we really need to have that. So Gartner was the first of the analyst bureaus to coin the term decentralized identity in their reports over SSI. And when we started the LSPs, it was at the hype of the hype cycle, the peak. And that basically means if something is there, if you have any project you have, if you need funding, just add with wallets or with blockchain on it, or I think today it's with AI. That's what the hype means. Doesn't mean that it's worthless, but that's how you get funding. Now, when we started, we already saw this plummeting. And this is where we're currently at. And I think it's a bit lower than that, actually. And also notice that zero-knowledge proof are predicted to not reach maturity level. So that's interesting. Keep an eye on that. Well, my message for today, and I'm hoping to be more interactive with you during the breaks and the other sessions, is let's work together, get to the slope of enlightenment, make this work, and take it as a stepping stone for further improvements. Thank you.